Step forward. Who are you?
Wait, you there. Who are you? PlatinumX here with a topic I haven't heard anybody else talk about. And something that really just recently occurred to me, that in Skyrim or just Elder Scrolls as a whole, there's no cross race. No, not even half elves. Half elves is like the most common in like fantasy RPGs. Half elves is the most common like cross race, like a mixed breed. And as you play through, you'll come across several areas where you see interracial relationships. And even among the, well, what would be all like human races, Bretons, Imperials, Nords, Redguard. So there's like four essentially like human races that there's no like cross. Anyway, and then elves again. The most common crossbreed is a half elf, and there's not even any half elves. And this is even true with like Dungeons and Dragons that has even like half orcs. There's no like cross elves, dark elf, high elf mix, dark elf, wood elf mix, or high elf, wood elf. I mean, even the elves, like there's no mixing there. Um, so there's only two races here in Skyrim that I think is understandably not compatible. And that's Khajiit and Argonian, because we're specifically talking about completely different species. I mean, Argonians are reptilian, and Khajiit are feline. But all these other ones, even the orcs, again, in Dungeons and Dragons, there's half orcs. So if orcs and humans can crossbreed, and elves and humans can crossbreed, well, then why can't orcs and elves crossbreed? So it's just something interesting that I would like to see going forward in some newer games where you're picking backgrounds, not necessarily picking a race, but you're picking backgrounds. Like what, like heritage, like what race your father was, and then what race your mother was, and then creating like cross results, like some aspect of being a Breton and an Imperial would kind of mix together. So I don't know what y'all think about any go ahead and feel free to make any comments about what you think about having more like racial aspects to your character. Again, like picking more along the lines of backgrounds that result in what you wind up with as a character, rather than just picking a race. And again, because there's so many, like, I mean, you'll come across so many interracial relationships across Skyrim. Like, well, what are their kids? I mean, you've got like a Redguard mother and a Nord father. Well, Nord and Redguard would be a pretty be a pretty bad dude. Or anyway, because Nords and Redguards are two of the best like warrior type races.
Who are you?
And there it is again. Who are you? And that's really the question that I would like to know or answer. is in character generation, it should be more about who are you? Where do you come from? So again, here even in Dungeons and Dragons, we've got elves, tieflings, drow, which is another basically like a sub race of elf. So you've got high elf, wood elf, and then drow, which again is just another sub race of elf. Humans, Githyanki, dwarves, half elves. So there we go. There's a mixed breed race. One human parent, one elf parent. And then, the elf parent is even, okay, well, what kind of elf? High elf, wood elf, or drow? Now, this drow half elf wasn't here originally. This was added in a more recent update, which makes, perfect sense. But then, what about mixed breed elves as far as a high elf and a drow elf? Again, there should be more about background than a purebred. And then halflings, gnomes, dragonborn, and half orcs. So even half orcs. Well, if you can play a half orc, well, why not a full orc too? So if orcs and humans, again, going back to what I was talking about with Elder Scrolls and Skyrim, if humans can breed with orcs and elves can breed with humans, why can't orcs and elves breed? Why can't a gnome breed with a human or an elf? Same thing with halflings. Halflings are basically just short humans. Why can't there be mixed breeding with humans and halflings, or elves and halflings, or even orcs and halflings? Again. So again, I would like to see more, some character generalization that's more about background and mixed breeds. So it should be more about, actually, when you're in character generation, picking who your father was and where he came from, picking who your mother was and where they came from. Why can't dwarves mix breed? Especially with the other, shorter races like gnomes and halflings. Githyanki is understandably a completely different. They even hatch in eggs. So that's completely understandable that Githyanki would not be mixed bred. Tieflings too. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think tieflings should be able to mix breed, or are tieflings? Okay, it says descended from devils. So again, maybe tieflings, maybe, no crossbreeding there, but, why not? Githyanki, like I said, I can understand, because again, they hatch in eggs. The Dragonborn, again, I can understand, but, aren't Dragonborn themselves a mixed breed? The fact that they are a humanoid dragon kind of already suggests they're a mixed breed. Again, don't really know the lore and history behind the Dragonborn, but again, why not? And again, if you can play a half orc, why can't I play a full bred orc? So, in character generation for Baldur's Gate 3, you've got genitals. So, all of these races have the two-sex reproductive genders. You've got penises and testicles, and you've got vaginas. See, penis. Well, it says vulva, but, vagina. So, that right there suggests that they're compatible on mixed breeding. Now here we are in an older version of Dungeons and Dragons, an older. This is the Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, which is based on Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd edition rules. So here's your races: human, elf, half elf. But with half elf, there's not a sub race of picking, well, what type of elf. It's just human elf mix, boom, half elf, generic. Dwarf, halfling, gnome, half orc. So here again, I can play a half orc, but not a full orc. And if orcs and humans are compatible and elves and humans are compatible, then why not an elf orc? Gnomes, I could understand, might be not compatible, but again, it says right there, kin to dwarves. Well, then why not? Why shouldn't they be compatible? So why aren't all of these races right here compatible for mixed breeding? Now, of course, when you get into games like Mass Effect, which I was going to pull up Mass Effect and look at all the different races, but I don't really have enough space to download it. So, but just thinking about Mass Effect, where you've got a race called Asari that can basically mix breed with all other races, but it produces an Asari, not a mixed breed. But actually, having said that, a purebred Asari is what's called the Ardok Yakshi, which are like energy vampires. They don't suck your blood, they literally drain the life out of you, like psychically or some shit like that. So I guess most Asari are actually mixed breed, because again, their purebred form is like monsters. Anyway. But then thinking about the other races of Mass Effect, like Krogan and Turians, I can understand they're not really being mixed breeding, because again, we're talking about completely different alien races. Alright, so I also pulled up the races of Dragon Age, which there's really not that many. Human, elves, dwarves, and Kunari, which I can understand. Kunari not being able to crossbreed, but there's not even any half-elves in Dragon Age. So, again, it would be nice to see, in a lot of our, like favorite, of course, Dragon Age has kind of been nailed, put in the coffin there. I could still resurrect it if these people actually wanted to, I don't know, make some money instead of making more garbage. Kind of depressing, but anyway, but there's a lot of veteran developers that have started their own studios, and again, it would be nice to see more diversity. I mean, again, it's like all these AAA titles that are literally throwing their franchises in the dumpster and setting it ablaze. What happened to diversity? You know what I'm saying? I thought that's what they were all about, diversity, right? So it would be nice to see a little more diversity in the race, crossbreed options. Again, selecting more, not necessarily what race you are, but what's your background? Where do you come from? And anyway, so just let me know what your thoughts are on that, and let's stay hopeful for future gaming returning to its former glory. So hopefully things get better. But anyway, like and subscribe. See you next time.